So I know I talked about in one of my short videos on YouTube and also on TikTok a little bit about how I called up my ex for no reason and he didn't even have voicemail, but it wasn't actually for no reason. It was because I wanted him to say how I had helped him learn how to write software in C, and then he went on to get jobs in embedded systems and monetize that skill set that I helped him develop. And as we know, or a lot of people know, finding programming teachers can be extremely difficult because software and in programming in general is a very difficult skill to teach. And the fact that I was able to get him from not knowing anything about C to being able to utilize it in a way that he could get better jobs that paid significantly more than what he was making prior because he had that knowledge. That's a really big step, but then the question comes, where did I get that knowledge on how to program in C? And for reference, here is the book that I ended up purchasing. But I will say, my mom actually had that book for years, but I didn't read it and I didn't care about learning C programming until I was much older and had already moved out of my mom's house. So I didn't actually have a copy of that book with me. I ended up purchasing a used copy online because I read that was the best book on C that you can get. And this was back in the early 2000s, just so you're aware. And people talk about like being self-taught in programming languages and stuff like that. And I had a really hard time focusing in on learning how to program. Like, it requires focus and then it requires practice to get really good at it. And I had even taken some programming classes in college that I did not do really well. I got a D in Pascal and a C and C++. No, or did I get a D in it? I don't even remember, but like, it was not an amazing grade and it was not me writing a bunch of programs. So I wanted to learn this skill for a number of reasons. Like, first of all, I really wanted to create my own video game, massively multiplayer online role-playing game, which sounds like really impressive. Like, I can't even code, so like, how could I do that? That doesn't even make any sense, does it? But I didn't let that deter me at all from going after what I wanted to do. And so I realized, like, a lot of people that had made games, they had like a team, like a husband and wife team, or brother and sister, or multiple brothers, or like something. And so they knew people that they could get together and create these larger projects. So I realized that in order to in order to attract programmers, you kind of need to become the thing that you want to attract, right? So I was sitting there like, how am I going to learn this stuff? My brain just doesn't really function that way, whatever. And I started getting into the occult. I started getting into like, reading the old grimoires and like just, this different stuff. I started feeling this energy of wanting to do that and wanting to understand myself more spiritually. And demons were really kind of demonized back then. And I was wanting to understand why I wanted to rebel against the Catholic Church. And like nowadays it's like, yeah, like, it's not even a question of like why people are leaving the church or why some people don't resonate with it. I mean, there's all kinds of reasons, but like I grew up in Ohio, and as everybody knows, that's still a very Catholic area of the United States. Like other areas of the US have different like religious or spiritual landscapes, but Ohio has, because the people who settled there when they came over from Europe, a lot of them were Catholic, so it was a very Catholic place. And so when I would pray against the current in church, I thought, well, I must be satanic. I must be the bad guy, right? So I started, the internet was just starting to come out. So I was looking up this on the internet, and I'm like, okay, maybe that's it. Maybe I'm a Satanist. And, I mean, come on, that early 2000s was not like an amazing time. And the information that was there wasn't necessarily the bestest information, like compared to what we have now, for sure. And so I came across this book, this PDF book, the Lesser Key of Solomon, also known as the Goetia. And it had a list of 72 demons. And I use that in quotes because reading the descriptions, they sound like, nice guys that you'd want to go out on a date with, right? And, some of them did sound a little intimidating and scary. Okay, maybe a lot scary, but, I'm like, well, why don't I start with one of the ones that doesn't sound too intimidating and scary? So I started with Buer, who teaches logic and, also heals, cures distempers in man or something like that. Some flowery language about what he does, right? So I'm like, okay, I'll just pick the easiest and, let's see. I want to learn how to code in C, and this guy teaches logic. So then that should help me learn how to program, right? So that's exactly what I did. And the ritual that I did was not particularly amazing. I didn't like get the lion skin belt and like, I don't know what else, all the robes or whatever like stuff. But I did make a paper talisman of the seal and then the seal of Solomon on the back, and I set up like a rope circle and I like did it in the bedroom. And I remember like hearing something that sounded like static, but I didn't actually hear or see any creature when I did this ritual. And then like later, I wasn't just like doing the ritual, I was doing mundane steps to learn this programming thing. And so that's when, I went online and I purchased this book and I studied the book. But as I was studying the book, sometimes I would get these suggestions about bad stuff I should be doing that isn't written in the book so that I could learn it. And so then I did the things, and I remember like even doing something like writing an entire program with go-tos because I wasn't supposed to use them, just different stuff like that. And so from that, I was able to learn how to program in C, and not only was I able to learn that skill, but I was able to help other people learn that skill from doing that. So I just wanted to tell that story because that's like a really amazing result that I have, and it can help people make money if they have other skills that are complementary. So I just want people to be aware of that.